Hello, everyone. This is Tijen Genco, and this is Coaching with Mastery and Elegance with Tijen Genco, an original podcast from Genco Coaching. And this is a bonus edition. And I have my wonderful, beautiful companion, Nanor Ohanesian, with me. Welcome, Nanor.
Hello, thank you. Happy to be here.
I am joyful that you are here, and we are going to talk about International Coaching Federation's knowledge exam, how to prepare for that, and some questions around that. But before we get into that, and Nanor is my companion for that, and before we get into that, Nanor, how would you like to introduce yourself to our audience?
I'm a leadership and life coach, and I've been coaching for about 10 years now. And I've also been on the board of ICF Orange County for a number of years. And this year I am the credentialing support director or something of that nature. And I also do mentor coaching with you and take a lot of classes with you. And so we thought this might be, a good match since I'm part of the credentialing and you're doing something around the credentialing exam. So, it would be cool if I was the one who was your companion on this journey today.
Absolutely, yes. It's a perfect match.
Perfect.
Excellent. Thank you for being here again. And how would you like us to start?
Okay. Well, first, the ICF has had a coach knowledge assessment before, but sometime in early, I think 2023, they changed the way they do the exam, and I think now it's called the ICF Credentialing Exam. So I was wondering maybe you could share with us, start us off with like what's essential for us to know about this change of the
Mhm.
exam.
Yeah, back then ICF was doing a lot of revisions and additional measures around the credentialing and quality of the credentials.
Mhm.
So there were some information arriving at ICF that people were giving out just a weekend course and credentialing people as coaches and just video only courses and so on and so forth. So as the credentialing was getting more strict around the world for some areas, then they decided to revamp certain things. And this is where the level 1, 2, and 3 credentialing measures came in. And they also asked for people who are giving the credentials to certified with ICF. And there is a huge portal now. It takes an arm and a leg to fill out that and go through the
Yes.
process. So the upgrading, the credentialing exam also came from that effort.
Mm.
Prior to that, one can actually take the written exam at home, and they could take multiple breaks, and it was open book exam. I mean, nothing that you could have read it from the book anyway, but it was a more sort of a logical responses that
Mhm.
any coach with a few years of experience could have responded with and be successful with it. But now it is a proctored exam, even if you are at home. You have to dial in, go through, sending your ID to somebody who is doing the proctoring, and then they will monitor you throughout, or you go into the proctored exam place to
Mhm.
take the exam. It's much longer. There is a shorter break. There are 2 sections and all that. So it's mimicking other board exams.
Mm.
It's about 4-hour exam, and you go through this knowledge in a way. It's the not necessarily theoretical knowledge, but how do you implement? It's almost, in a way, if I was to name it, I would say wisdom exam, because it is understanding and embodying and applying.
Yeah. It's that application of, like, okay, you know what the core competency is, but how do you actually demonstrate it
Correct.
in a coaching relationship or
Yes.
session?
In a various coaching scenarios, how they may show up, and
Mm-hmm.
how do you respond? Do you know enough
Yeah.
to respond? Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, very interesting. So they've making it a lot more stringent
Mm-hmm.
and applicable versus like a memory test.
Correct. Like I've also am a board certified health and wellness coach. I've taken that exam, 4-hour exam. I also teach the exam prep course for that. And it is also similar there, but they do ask some sort of application of evidence-based methodologies that are heavily used in health and wellness coaching. In the ICF's exam, it's mostly about application and coach's response to the situation, not necessarily evidence-based methodology applications, because around the world, different coaching schools are teaching different coaching frameworks and other things. Really, the framework, if anything, is going to be about how the competencies are showing up, such as the engage coaching agreement, session closures, and all that, and how it is being applied, really applied sciences in a way.
Nice. Okay. So you were kind of answering this already, but I was also curious of, like, on this exam, what is ICF looking specifically to assess?
It is presenting, I guess we're getting deeper right away, as always.
It's Tijen, what can we do?
Exactly, what can we do? So ICF is presenting the exam taking coaches with certain scenarios to assess their understanding of the competencies, and presenting them particular response opportunities for them to choose the best response and the worst response. So if you are a coach that haven't had much experience with it, with coaching, even if you had some experience as a person who's living life, you may need to have some kind of idea how to respond. One of the most extreme things happened for me. For example, I coach high degree officials. So let's say then the case scenario is that you're coaching, your client is the head of the hospital. They come to the session saying, oh, Tijana, I want you to coach me and give me an advice, right? When they are struggling, they are going to ask you that. The union, my labor partners is outside demonstrating, asking me to resign. What shall I do? This is a situation, right? If you haven't been in a situation like that, what are you going to do? Do you incline to give a response? What is the best response? What's the worst response? Can you produce a response like that if you've never been to a situation like that? I mean, you can figure out something, or in a life coaching scenario, I mean, of course, my case studies are much harder than, but you're going to see it there, and it comes from the experience. We're going to get into this, but or a health and wellness situation scenario could be both in a life or a health and wellness scenario. You could say that your client is an oncology client. They're coming to a session and you've been coaching them in their coping up or behavioral change around this. And they came to the session and they say, I'm thinking about not seeing my oncologist anymore. I'm going to go get an energy healing.
Mm.
What is the best response, right? I mean, these things can happen.
Oh,
So,
wow.
and therefore, then you can understand knowing the competencies and applying the competencies appropriately in these situations that are presented. And therefore, in these sort of a board certified exams, although ICF's not necessarily considered that right now, what there isn't a perfect answer.
There is not.
There is not a perfect answer because these life scenarios, right, whether it's applied in a executive situation, life situation, health and wellness, whatever that might be, that you can find the best response. But it isn't like if you're asking somebody when applying this methodology, which one is true, then you know, if you know the answer, you can be so sure about it.
Yeah.
But in these exams, you may always left with doubt.
Oh, wow. That's uncomfortable.
Exactly. So that's one of the distinctions, the way I prepare people for these board exams or ICF exams. I'm also helping them to live in ambiguity, and they're shifting their relationship to the ambiguity and ambiguous responses. Otherwise, you will get stuck in one question thinking that for 4 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, we got into multiple hallways. Are we on track with what you wanted to get?
Yeah. Well, one thing that I heard, which I always know I get with Tijen, is a 2-for-1. So they'll come and be comfortable with the ambiguity. And
Exactly.
that gets to be applied other places in life too, which
Yes.
is really nice. But I guess what I heard also is that's one difference between the old exam and the new exam is the way you answer it. Because I heard you say a best answer and a worst answer. So that's
Yeah, in this one, you picking two responses. In the old one, you were picking one response.
yeah.
It still wasn't that like, oh, is this true? Is this false kind of a thing. It was still situational, but I think that ICF item writers did a better job making them more complex now
Okay. Okay.
for coaches to think through.
Yeah. Yeah. They're definitely making it more stringent to
Yes.
pass. Yeah. Okay. So, okay, so what common challenges have you noticed that candidates are facing when they're preparing for taking or even passing the exam?
I think that again, their relationship to, as you know, my cognitive coaching, right? Their relationship to any exam is going to be their partner.
Mm.
I have to be the best. I can't do enough. Whatever their story is, that's one challenge already. The second is that, as I mentioned, I've been teaching this in the health and wellness board exam for a few years now, and we have a great, 100% success rate on that. It's because we really prepare people how to respond to the ambiguity, how to respond and read and what to do behaviorally in the exam. Certain other exam taking methodologies may not be the best in here. So it is also important to really understand what is being asked of me here. Right? Because competencies are often taught in the trainings as they are linear lists. So people need to understand there is almost always going to be an ethical underlying in each question, and then an additional highlight of a particular competency, and the coaching presence. So really understanding those. And then also our tendency, the people's tendencies about how much they push themselves, right? There is a little break. Will they allow them to take that break? Allow themselves to take the break? What do you do when you take the break? And then how do you do with the anxiety and stress, right? It's important. So knowing all that things are helpful. For example, if the persons are going to take the exam in a proctored place, not at their virtual home or wherever they're virtually going to take, it would be helpful for them to go see the place.
Right.
Physically, and see where they're going to park, what they're going to do to reduce additional stress. If there are more than one options where you can find easier parking versus the other one, choose the other one, whatever that may be. I know that when I took in the health and wellness board exam, I went to the place. I looked even in the lockers, what kind of coffee I was going to take, what I was going to eat, and what I was going to wear. I was looking at people, how they were going through the security. It is easier, for example, if you're going to wear pants, you can easily slide them up and down. You can show your sleeves easier because every time you leave the room, you're going to go through the security exam, and that's going to make you lose time. And so that sort of thing, knowing what you're going to do with the noise. In a place like that, I don't like noises, and the person next to me was like tapping on the table. So you need knowing yourself how to respond to these things are helpful. And if you're gonna do it, take it at home. Certainly, you need to make sure your home environment is in a place that's not interrupted, and how to prepare and when to log in. And what are you going to do when you log in and the system doesn't respond?
Oh gosh, yeah. A lot of technical issues that could be for sure.
Yeah.
I heard you have to like clear your entire space.
Correct.
They video you, show them everything left, right. Yeah.
Yeah, do that. And if you need to use the bathroom, do it before you show them, because otherwise then you have to do it all over again.
Oh my gosh. So when you took it, did you take it? It sounds like you took it at a proctored location.
No, I took the board exam in a proctored location.
Oh,
I took the ICF knowledge exam at home.
at home.
And
Okay.
I actually had to take it also twice, because I also did the advanced certification in team coaching. So that has it. So, yeah.
Oh, gosh. Okay. Okay. So you're very familiar with the exam then. Perfect. Well, what I really appreciate your reply to like the challenges that people face, because you made it so individualized for each person. It's going to be so different based on their relationship to how they take exams and how they soothe themselves when they're anxious. So it's very interesting. I was expecting a very different answer. So,
Yeah,
um,
yeah,
yeah, thank you. Thank you for that perspective.
my pleasure.
Um, so I know you shared a couple of ways for us to overcome some challenges as far as like being familiar with the location of where we're going to go and so forth. Are there like, how else can people who are going to take the exam, how else can they overcome some of the challenges that you mentioned?
Um, I mean, this is the thing that I actually, on my last class, I often go through, really think about, because it's a long exam, right? Uh, how are you going to keep your insulin levels? Right?
Mm,
You get tired, you get fatigued. And then, like, I remember eating pasta before walking into the board exam for 4 hours. I mean, I had migraine and it was a bad day for me, but thinking about what kind of food can sustain me and give me energy, what am I going to eat in the break time, and how am I going to replenish myself in a short time frame that the breaks are short, and so that you don't lose the exam time. And not get in my head. When I took the board exam, I actually left in the first section 9 questions unanswered.
mhm.
I was just reading and reading. This is why I developed the course the way I did it. So I challenge people not to do what I did. So, um, and then I said to myself, it is what it is. You can't go change it and then move on, you know. So I think there is even also a practice sections. They give you an exam-like test questions, whichever, whether you're taking it through ICF or other places. Do that, because the mouse is different. The screen is different. If you're not going to do it at home and you're used to your own cozy comfort, I'm assuming a lot of the coaches are sensitive beings, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
even those things can create emotional thing. You all of a sudden the font is different. I
Mhm.
don't know. I like my fonts.
Yeah, and as soon as you said that, I thought of the temperature too, right? Like if it's cold in there or
Yes.
hot in there.
Yes, and you're not allowed to change the things. You're not allowed to wear any jewelry.
Oh,
If you have a hairband, it has to be on your hair. If you have an eyewear, it has to be worn. You can't be. So yeah,
my
that's
gosh. So
yeah.
many rules. Okay. Okay. So, okay, these are really good. What about overcoming the challenges of like you said like how do you respond to ambiguity,
Mhm.
the nervousness, whether I'm being too pushy on myself, or just kind of like you said, right? Like in your mind you're like, okay, just it is what it is, let it go, we need to move on. So that's one way you can attend to
Mhm.
that conflict in your head. Do you have any suggestions around some of like our relationships to exam? Like, should
Yeah.
we have sessions with people before we actually go in and with the coach?
Get a coaching session around your tendencies, how you like to pity yourself and all that. But honestly, in my trainings, I have like case studies in each session,
Mm,
where I'm introducing people to this level of very strong ambiguity. And then we're addressing their behaviors. I'm also noticing who's doing what sort of thing. So I'm responding to those. So really practicing these case studies, understanding how they show up. Obviously, in my training, I developed the case studies I'm presenting. I don't know where else people can find it. There are, maybe we're going to get into this, but there are trainings out there, right? People develop, but some of them are developed, most of them, I could say, are developed by people who are exam developers, not necessarily strong coach practitioners.
Mm.
Or they are developed by AI, or they are developed by people are coaches, but not necessarily have a functioning practice. So then they are going to present you with the limited things. Even then, it still would be better than nothing, I guess. You can just go through that. But working with people, asking questions about what kind of weird things can happen in coaching, even documenting their things. And the Cynthia and I were going to publish a podcast in next month about some of these challenging case studies. That could be a resource for people also if they're not gonna. And that's actually Coaching with Mastery and Elegance with Tijen Genco. People can find it in wherever they're streaming podcasts. But working with mentors who are also strong practitioners would be helpful, right? Because it's often specialization is helpful, right? There are coach mentors, trainers. They are just coach mentor trainers. And they are practitioners, they don't teach. So you need to find a
the combination
where that this is helpful for people to understand and what kind of challenge each competency can present. What are they? And that will be helpful.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about how the exam is structured, like in terms of the format, maybe the types of questions, and even like the duration.
Mm-hmm. The duration is 4 hours.
It is. Okay.
Yeah, and there's slightly changing end of this month, the how long is the sections are, how many questions in each sections are. But there is a brief introduction about what the exam is and how to read the questions and what to respond. And then there are about 84 minutes that dedicated to the instructions when the update occurs end of the month. And by the way, we are recording this August 13, 2024. If you listen this 20 years from now, maybe it's different. So, and then the section 1 is going to have about 39 items, case studies to respond to, which is going to be about 83 minutes. And then there is a 10 minutes break. And then the section 2 has also 39 items, dedicated 83 minutes to complete.
Okay. Very structured and thought out. Okay. All right. Thank you for that. Okay. So I wrote down a few questions so I can ask you. That's why I keep looking down. What are some best practices for us to prepare in passing this exam?
I think that, as we talked earlier, looking at your responses, your relationships, how you build confidence yourself. And even if you have some sort of a thing that shows how much time you dedicated that helps you build the confidence, then do that. Like I've worked this many hours, prepared for this many hours, whatever that may mean for people. And and again, understanding your behavioral responses for the exam, what exam means for you, and what do you do around that meaning in general is helpful. And then understanding the competencies in depth, as and then how would you respond to these competencies?
Okay. As well as the ethics.
Correct.
I find the ethics to be the hardest part for me.
But they are part of the competencies, and
yeah,
and I don't know if others are doing it, but they are included in my trainings,
yeah.
See, but usually what it is that they kind of put ethics, not necessarily specify this is an ethic question, but there is an underlying ethical thing.
Yeah, throughout the exam. Yeah. Okay. Well, speaking of how your training, I know you have an upcoming training coming up, because I'm going to be signing up when it's, and I know it's up, just need to sign up. So this class is called ICF Knowledge Content Review and Exam Prep Course. It's listed under your upcoming events section as Master the ICF Knowledge Exam with our expert-led course. Can you tell us a little bit about this course?
Yeah, so I structured the course within the ICF's exam outline structure. So they have particular percentages about where the questions will come from each competencies.
Okay.
So the way I've done it is that through the 4 weeks, these are 90-minute sessions, I cover all of the competencies per week.
Nice.
So let's say for the first session, we will overview competencies 1 to 3, and then we have case studies from the practice, real life practice, to challenge. And then we are going to have class discussion. You will, let's say, as a participant, hear what somebody else is saying, what is the best response, what is the worst response. And then we'll have a dialogue. And through that rich dialogue, you're also learning other people's thinking patterns. What are you thinking? How are you responding? So 4 weeks we do that. And sometimes participants ask me if can we do more case studies, then I'll do special editions for that. But that's how it's structured. 4 weeks. And each week we go through a couple of competencies. I am not teaching exactly what it is, but I'm teaching you the implementation of the competency at a depth that how it shows up in a practice, what is being asked or of it, and so on. So I'm not necessarily teaching how to coach around it, but how to understand and comprehend. Yeah.
Kind of like how that competency is demonstrated almost.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I love that. Oh, this is going to be wonderful. Like not even a review, like an in-depth of what the competencies perform like.
Exactly. Beautiful.
So forget the ICF credentialing exam. This is going to help us with our coaching. Period.
Absolutely. This is what I was saying. Even if you're not going to take the exam, it's still good thing to come up, because it's like where you're going to find it depth in those case studies. They're not only coming from my own practice, but remember, I'm an assessor. And I'm assessing for a lot of coaching schools in worldwide. And so I'm seeing all sorts of things are happening, some good, some not so good. Yeah. So these are coming from that. And it's wonderful to have these discussions. Where else are you going to have it? I don't know anywhere else that goes through case studies like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what I appreciate about your offering is the multiple hats that you wear, and you're going to bring that richness of,
Mhm.
to us, which is really beautiful. Okay, that's awesome.
Thank you.
So, and I've seen some other trainings out there regarding the ICF exam. There are other courses that I've seen. I haven't taken any of them, but what do you think distinguishes the course that you're offering from other trainings?
Yeah, I think that there are some people are mimicking the exam, so that may be helpful, just going and taking it online. But as you know, Nanor, that I am a boutique service, right? I like to understand and respond to people at a depth. So what's unique about it is that as a experienced mentor and a teacher, I'm looking at this not only just one thing in an exam, but how do you respond to challenges in your life? You're going to learn more about you, and you're going to form a community with the other coaches. You're going to learn a lot about these rich experiences. Like,
Mm.
imagine that people are telling you, oh, the labor partners are asking me to, what are you going to do in a situation like that? So even your situation may be different than what you're learning. It's in a way, it's also going to normalize these absurd, challenging situations as a practitioner. So yeah, I think it will be a very rich, deep 4 week of journey, and that's what is the distinguishes my course from others. I've written my own content out of all these years of practice, years of assessing, years of teaching, seeing what's happening. Some, as I said, some is good, some not so good, and I'm also taking part in a lot of high degree ICF effort. I'm a volunteer for rewriting resource guides for ICF,
Mm.
updating competencies, supporting MCC assessors. I mean, I do a lot of different things. So understanding the competencies that I have, I believe I can say is quite a deep level. So therefore, that's also going to be distinguishing the course itself from another person that is presenting it, I believe.
Yeah, yeah, lots of value there for sure. I think one of the biggest things, because I've seen, like I said, I haven't taken, but I've seen some trainings where they're just pre-recorded, and you buy the training and you listen to whatever it is that, the tips and tricks perhaps that they're providing, which I think is still valuable. But what sounds even more valuable in this course is our own our own personal development that might be impacted, and up leveling, I guess, even our coaching skills, because we'll be hearing and learning, not just hearing and learning, but we'll be in dialogue and discussing all of that with one another, which creates even richer learning and embedding into our own brain, like making it more stick
Yeah.
versus, just hearing something somewhere. So, wow, this is even sounding better than I thought. I'm so glad. Thank you. Thank you for, uh, I know we've been asking you for this course for a while, and thank you for making it happen. But not just that, through the rich way that you are providing it for us. So thank you for that. Okay, so I mean, this doesn't require a question right now, but I'm just going to ask it in case you need, you want to add something more. But how will this course help candidates pass the exam? I feel like.
Well, that's their own journey, right? I'm just the guide, but this is a thing that when I was having a dialogue with Joel DiGirolamo. He is the vice president of research department in ICF, and he actually supports how the assessments are created for ICF. He helps us generating the assessment tools for every level and so on. So in one of my Mastery podcast episode, him and we were having discussions. He said, like, is this going to be part of the exam? That's the question. and so we were laughing. Yeah. So I think that what I want to say, taking it beyond, right? Exam is one thing, one point of time. Even one passes and doesn't passes, of course, the idea is to support you, see yourself through. But even if it's not, outcome is undesirable, still there is a learning thing happening here. So whatever that may be, then it is, my goal is to make that pleasant, make that rich, and make that supportive. And again, I put every skills of mine to support the candidates in their journey into wherever they want to go. So I will certainly do my part in partnering in every way, and the rest I will leave it to them to decide. But I'm committed in my part.
Nice. Yeah, I hear that clearly. I hear that clearly. Well, I know we talked also about this, we touched on this, but if there's anything else you want to add around, like how, in case we missed anything, but how else can taking this course up level people's coaching skills?
I think that one of the things is helpful, the deepening, the learning, is to teach. So when I do the case studies, I'm asking the people in the class to read it and respond. So when they're responding, what are they doing? They're advocating their point of view, teaching to the class. It's this and that. So it's really social cognitive theory, right?
Yeah, nice.
They're building, developing, and then while by verbalizing in the first, and then feeling frustrated, Tijen, you make these so hard. Okay, yes, good. And then I know that my students that prepare for the board exam, they tell me, we went there, they were so easy after. So that's the goal.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. You know, you've done, clearly you, as I said, you wear many hats and you've done so much already. You've been coaching over 20 years. How do you stay like even current, or where do you go to improve your coaching skills? Like what's left?
What's
MCC.
left is being the grandmaster. The PhD.
We're going to have a new ACC, PCC, MCC Grandmaster C.
Like in the Eastern traditions, there is often a grandmaster of Tai Chi, yoga, and so on. So what I do is that I actually volunteer, even though I have a full practice. I volunteer with ICF. And I develop these trainings that my wonderful students like you, teach us this. okay, I have to research and think about it and develop. So those are the things keep me current. And then also I studied all different things, right? Different philosophies and other things to look into human behavior and look at it like kaleidoscope, all these different lenses. Recently, I'm studying I Ching philosophy, for example, and the philosophy of that, looking into human and social structures. And so always studying different ways and I'm also a seeker myself, that always looking into human mind. And yeah, so those are the ways that I do my best staying current.
Nice, nice. Thank you. The more you learn, the more we have to learn from you. And every time you teach, as you said, that's how you grow and develop as well. So that's
Absolutely,
beautiful.
yeah.
Oh, well, I love all the journeys that you're taking in your learning. It's beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. And then so do you have any final tips, words of wisdom, or additional resources you'd like to share with us in, people preparing to take this ICF credentialing exam?
Mhm. I would say that if they're going to enroll in a course, just to look to see who really prepared the content.
Mm.
And also understand if they're really in need to mimic the online taking, or do they need to learn more the content or whatever, right? Understanding what they need to develop further. Are they looking for emotional support or something else? It will be helpful to recognize that. And really understanding studying competencies at length and depth, because a lot of the coach schools then teach to prepare the coaches to pass the oral exam. So then they're learning in either to demonstrate through ACC bars, PCC markers, MCC bars, really not fully embracing what is the competency.
Yeah.
Understanding that, and then don't know a resource to recommend, really. Maybe it is out there. Case studies. They can also write down what they can come up with, and that will be helpful. And I mentioned already, next month there is going to be a podcast from my organization. So those are the things that come into my mind.
Nice. Okay, thank you. And then how can people like find you or connect with you to learn more about all of the wonderful resources and classes that you have?
Thank you, Nanor. These are all listed at gencocoaching.com, and events are listed under upcoming events page. And then my services are listed under the services page that people can find for mentoring and individual sessions or the trainings. Thank you for that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
Well, thank you.
thank you for everything. And do you wanted to share additional resources maybe ICF Orange County is offering for the support, or anything that you want to share with the audience?
We haven't started it yet, but we will be offering things around credentialing, which will be like informational to support people to either get their credentials or renew. What questions they may have around that. So creating times to discuss that, as well as some opportunities. We're going to bring MCC coaches, such as yourself, to come and share some things around the core competencies. And then we're going to go out for a, couple of weeks or a couple of months. We're not sure yet, but go practice them together in like groups of threes to practice those learnings. So kind of like mentor coaching one another, give each other feedback and so forth. And yeah, that's my way of, I think that will be helpful to our members to actually not only just pass the like get their credential, but also up level their coaching skills as well.
Beautiful.
So
Yeah, so check out ICF Orange County, people.
things are around the corner. Probably starting in October, we'll be doing that.
All right. Well, thank you for
Thank you.
being here today, Nanor. And I hope that our audience, you find this information helpful. Again, what you've been tuned into is a Coaching with Mastery and Elegance, a bonus episode and original podcast from Genco Coaching. Take care.
Bye.